Welcome back. Now, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, has approved $80.77 million under the food shock window of the Rapid Credit Facility to help Burkina Faso address urgent balance of payment needs related to the global food crisis. Now, about 16% of the country's population is in acute food insecurity conditions. Food insecurity is at the front burner here in Burkina Faso, and Dr. Lassane Ouedraogo, research fellow at the Center for Democracy and Development in Abuja, joins us via Zoom to unpack the current situation facing the country. Good afternoon, Doctor. It's good to have you on the program.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to join you on this program.
Doctor, can you just paint a picture here? How bad is this shock?
Well, one of the things to consider is that annual food import for Burkina Faso is roughly $400 to $500 million a year. And the government is compelled to divert resources into the fight against terrorism over the past 7 years. So consequently, other sectors were going to be negatively impacted. Along with that, we have the international situation with the COVID-19, the conflict in Ukraine, all contributing to complicating things. So it is reasonable to speculate that our food import bill has increased dramatically. So it has become vital for government to look into international partners such as IMF for relief. And if you're looking at the situation on the ground, I would say it's pretty bad. We have about 2 million people who are internally displaced. That is huge. And most of the people who are internally displaced are farmers who were compelled to run away from their farms, to run away from their cattle, their crops, and to swell our small cities. So, and these are the people who are actually producing and providing food on our tables. And with this kind of situation going on, it's vital to look into this kind of a relief program or credit program that could sustain any possible economic recovery.
Oh, well, if we're away from that, we're looking at the security concerns that you've mentioned that has driven farmers from the farm, and they're not able to put produce for people, provide food for the citizens right now. But what were some of the concerns, the requirements from the IMF that Burkina Faso had to meet to qualify for this credit facility? Now, we're talking about transparency and governance here.
Absolutely. We know this is a military transitional government. But recently, Burkina Faso is showing good signs in its efforts to mobilize domestic revenues to ensure priority public expenditure and public debt sustainability. And one of the ways that is done transparently is the transitional leaders' keen interest in fighting against corruption, in seeking to reduce the expenses of public administration. So I believe this might have contributed to motivate IMF to agree into giving this loan. But if you look at IMF own documents related to this loan, it's clearly specified that the financing terms of this loan is the same as any other emergency financing program that IMF has. So access to this type of a rapid credit facility loan would be attributed to low-income countries at concessional poverty reduction and growth facility terms, and the loan would be repaid within 3 to 5 years or within 5 to 10 years. But when it comes to the specificities of Burkina Faso, the documents that I consulted in my research does not really transpire any details beyond those gross terms.
So how is the funding? They mentioned, helping it. I mean, the loan is going to help with the balance of payments. How is this fund going to help with that? You talked about the more of importing food items into the country because the farmers are unable to, farm, and this has caused, that food insecurity that we are seeing now, the spike in food insecurity in the country. So how is this fund going to help, balance this, the fund? I mean, the balance of payments.
Well, I believe that primarily this fund is going to be key to be a key defense in addressing urgent balance of payments for the country, and I think it's primarily going to go and contributing to alleviate our humanitarian situation on the ground. This is not money that is going to be utilized to just balance our payments and not be used toward alleviating the crisis on the ground. And it's important to recall that the country is undergoing an unprecedented crisis in its history. Since 2016, when we first experienced terrorist attacks, the security situation has grown extremely, extremely worse, so much that when government wants to provide resources to some of the remote areas where jihadist terrorists are controlling, it takes them so many days. It takes them approximately a month to be able to reach some place that would normally take 4 hours or 6 hours to drive there, because there's a lot of mine on the road. So, and oftentimes they have to airlift food items to those places. So it costs them more money and more resources to be able to, even when food is available, to distribute or to bring them to the people on the ground. So that is where I believe this fund is going to contribute, is going to help in mitigating the efforts to address the situation.
Thanks so much, Dr. Alassane Ouedraogo. We do hope the situation in Burkina Faso is overcome very quickly. Dr. Alassane Ouedraogo, Research Fellow, Center for Democracy and Development in Abuja. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.